Ready to roll. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you back to Judaism at Home. So, Judaism at Home is all about exploring Jewish practice, Jewish ritual, Jewish themes, Jewish life, the way it's practiced or can be practiced at home. At a time when we're spending more time than ever at home, it's a pretty cool thing to talk, I think it's a pretty cool thing to talk about doing Jewish at home, because like we've described in the prior sessions, many of us, it's a misconception, but many of us have the notion or have thought of this, whether overtly or, maybe kind of subconsciously, that Judaism is meant for certain spaces, like synagogues or like a JCC, although that's not really, whatever, that's like cultural, but certain spaces are Jewy spaces and the rest is like, normal spaces. The whole point of this is to really understand how home is where the Jewish is. It's not really about a synagogue or about a certain center. It's about doing Jewish at home. So tonight we are going to continue our exploration of the day. We started off in the morning. We started off by waking up. Right? We talked about how to wake up, how to do moda'ani, how to get ready, how to wash the hands, how to say a few morning blessings. We then segued into food, which is, that's a winning conversation right there. That was last week. We spoke about how to eat Jewish, in other words, how to eat in a Jewish way with the right frame of mind, with the right intention, with the right, meditation, etc. So we spoke about that concept. Today, we're going to segue into tefillah. Tefillah is prayer. Prayer, I have to mention this right off the bat. Prayer is very often associated with synagogues. And again, the purpose of this course is to debunk a lot of things, a lot of misconceptions, including the notion that prayer is meant for synagogues. Prayer is meant for people. Prayer is for people. That's the way it is. Now, sometimes communal prayer happens in synagogues. Wonderful. But prayer is for each of us. So I want to tell you a story. There was once a fellow named O'Brien. His name was O'Brien, and he was a golfer, an avid golfer. So he goes to his favorite golf course one day, and he usually golfs with four members of his golfing crew, but the other three for some reason didn't show up that day. So he needs to play with another three. He's looking for three to play, and he sees there, right in the in the lobby, he sees three Jewish-looking rabbis with the yarmulke, with the beards, maybe dancing the hora, doing some sort of like Jewish dance. Thank God I have a swivel chair, I can do that. All right, so he sees these guys and he's like, he's first a little apprehensive, but then he says, I need three anyway. Let me ask these guys. So he says, you guys need a fourth? Yes, we do. I'm looking to play. Done. He's thinking like he plays regularly, these three-bearded rabbis. They're probably not that great. So he says, they start playing. And first thing, one of the rabbis hits a drive 300 yards down the fairway. Unbelievable. Who was that guy that used to hit bombs off the fairway, that golfer? Daly? Chuck?
John Daly.
John Daly. Oh, not Chuck Daly. Who's Chuck Daly? That's no one. Thank you, John Daly. So they're like John Daling it straight down the fairway. They're Tiger Woodsing it with chip shots and putts and everything. They're unbelievable. We're talking pars and birdies and all that stuff. It's incredible. Meanwhile, he's playing a normal round, struggling and hitting the rough and the sand traps and 2 or 3 putting. And I'm using golf terms here. Excuse my golf, but they're doing better than he is, and he's very confounded. Like, these guys, like, how, where, when, how is this possible? So he asked them at the end of the round. He's like, tell me, what's your secret? Like, how are you guys so good? You guys play every day? No, once a week. So how are you so good? Here's the secret. We're Jewish. He's like, yeah, I figured. So we in synagogue every Shabbat, every Saturday, we say a special prayer in the service for golf, for success, and it pays off. So he hears this and he says, okay, interesting. and they part their ways. This guy is so just blown away by this. He decides there and then, that's it. He's going to explore Judaism. And Mr. O'Brien, after a little bit, ends up converting to Judaism. And he attends synagogue. And that's what happens. About a year later, he meets these guys. 3 rabbis and him. Once again, they have a round together. Same deal. They're killing it. In others, they're doing really well, and he's struggling. He says to them, I don't get it. I converted to Judaism. I even go to synagogue. Nothing, no improvement. They say, where do you go to synagogue? He's like, I go to Beth Shalom. They're like, nah, they pray for tennis, not golf. Okay. Listen, hold on. I can't hear you. You're all muted. But what I sense, just based on facial expressions, is some laughter, some like pain, and a mixture, a nice combination of the two. Okay.
Just because Beth Shalom was a conservative synagogue is no reason to pick on it.
No. Are you talking about the one from? Are you talking about the Pittsburgh Beth Shalom?
Yeah.
I know, but it wasn't. It was just in the joke book that I read. That was the name. It wasn't it wasn't a call out for any specific reason. So here's the deal. Prayer. One more thing. One more prayer insight or anecdote. Here's a morning prayer. I'm going to read to you a text from a morning prayer. Dear God, so far today I'm doing all right. I've not gossiped, lost my temper, been greedy, grumpy, nasty, selfish, or self-indulgent. I've not whined, complained, cursed, or eaten any chocolate. I've charged nothing to my credit card. But I will be getting out of bed in a minute, and I think that I will really need your help then. So again, that's another, prayer. So today we're going to explore what is prayer and how does it work and what are we supposed to be thinking, and also the mechanics and the ritual of prayer. I think that so often we think of prayer as a very personal thing. Especially the time that we're in the last few months, so much challenge, so much adversity. I've personally experienced individuals close to me who have been sick. Some family in New York related to COVID-19, coronavirus. Individuals who have experienced other forms of illness and loss during the last several weeks, unrelated to coronavirus, and a natural reaction of many when experiencing directly or indirectly or whatever, when experiencing challenge and hardship, health challenges, etc., one reaction that some people have is prayer. And prayer seems like a very personal and individual experience. Right? A person prays. This is what they need. This is the blessing they need. They pray for themselves, for loved ones, turn to God right in the moment. And maybe that's what prayer is. And there's truth to that. Which begs the question, so what's with the formal prayer? What's this all about? What's the Siddur? What's the prayer book all about? Well, we structure the prayers, we script them. How do you script something that's supposed to come from the heart? And what does it mean? So tonight we're going to explore a little bit about the structure of prayers. The Jewish structure of prayer, to understand how it's really meant to evoke the heart. Because the two are not mutually exclusive. Yes, prayer is supposed to emanate from the heart. It's supposed to be sincere, heartfelt, and an individual experience. At the same time, not everyone is very good speaking on the fly. Not everyone is great, improvising in an eloquent fashion. So the prayer book is a tool that we have to be able to effectively, or more than effectively, to intelligently communicate what it is that we need, what it is that we want with God in those moments. So I think that for many, prayer is one of the most difficult areas within Judaism and misunderstood. Many people don't feel comfortable in synagogues, and it's not just because, of other things. It's because of the prayers, because people get these in their hand, a prayer book, and many people are not familiar with it, and because of that are very apprehensive. What page am I on? What am I doing with this? Where am I turning? I don't know. What is this really? What's really going on here? Am I sitting? Am I standing? Am I listening? Am I reading in English and Hebrew? Am I saying the words out loud? Am I thinking them in my own head? Should I turn all the pages? Should I just stop on one page? And people don't want to be in uncomfortable situations. That's the rule of thumb. No one's looking. Unless like it's a seminar or weekend that you're paying $10,000 to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Typically, people don't put themselves in uncomfortable situations. So if I don't really know, and if I'm going to feel embarrassed, and if I'm going to feel uncomfortable and out of place, I'm probably just not going to go, not going to show up. And so you have this notion of synagogues declining. But remember how I started today's class. Prayer is not for synagogues. Prayer is for people. So it's really not about being comfortable in a synagogue setting. That's not what this is about. Tonight, it's about understanding what this is. Now, there's no way we're going to go through it all. There's no way. It's way too populated inside. There's too many things to talk about. And we already spoke about some morning blessings, which are really powerful and personal, right? You got up this morning. Thank God. Like both ways of understanding that. Thank God. And thank God that you got up, right? You were able to stand up, to walk, to get dressed. Amazing. These are gifts. We spoke about that. What happens after that? So we ate, we had some coffee, right? We had a little bite to eat because last week we talked about we don't pray to eat, we eat to pray, right? It's not like getting through it so that we can eat. No, we eat first and then we have our mind ready to say some prayers. So what are these prayers? What's really going on? So today we're going to focus primarily on two things. Two prayers from the morning service. The Shema prayer, very famous prayer, but also a little bit misunderstood. So we're going to go through that. And the Amidah, that standing prayer that no one's really sure what's going on. So we're going to explore these prayers today. By the way, when I say no one really knows, as much as you know, as much as experiences you've had, there's still more to learn and to understand. So many beautiful ideas and secrets and meanings and customs associated with all these prayers. And hopefully whether you're not so familiar, whether you're very familiar with these prayers, it's my belief that you're going to learn a lot tonight and really gain an appreciation and an understanding about how to do it and what it means, not only in a synagogue setting when the other people are around and there's a bar mitzvah or whatever it is. No, but like just for you and yourself. Okay, so first things first, before we jump into some specific prayers and the ritual and how to do it, first things first, why do we pray in the first place? So there are two primary rationales behind prayer, or intentions behind prayer. One intention is to ask what we need, to ask for what we need. You need something, and you're asking God, please help with this. I need this, or I want this. Can you help with this? That's one understanding, basic understanding of prayer. God forbid, someone is not well, someone falls ill, we pray for their health. It's a prayer. We call that a bakasha, it's a request. It's prayer in the form of request. There's another form of prayer, or not a form, but there's another intention of prayer. And that's not about what we need. It's primarily about developing a relationship with God. So to explain, the prayers, as we'll see tonight, the prayers talk a lot about God and about the world that we live in. Prayers talk about the beauty of the world around us, about earth, the beauty of earth, the animals, the trees, the plants. It talks about the heavens and the heavenly bodies. It talks about the angels. the wonders of creation, the wonders of the universe. And it's not like God needs to hear us, fawning over his masterpiece, right? God doesn't, it's not like God needs an ego trip. Like, God, your world is so amazing. Like, you're the man. I mean, you're the God. I mean, that's not really what, God doesn't need it. Who needs it? We need it. I like to say this very often when talking about prayer. It's less about God and more about us. We need to hear how blessed we are. We need to hear how beautiful the world we live in is. We need to hear this to become appreciative of what we have and grateful and develop gratitude and feel connected with our source of life. That's a good thing. That's a very healthy thing for a human being to have and to experience. So this is the second intention of prayer. Intention number one of prayer is an opportunity to ask for what we need. Intention number two is an opportunity to connect with God, to become more aware, to start thinking about God, to verbalize that acknowledgement, and to, in that way, connect on a deeper level with our Creator. Now, one might say that intention number one speaks to the body, and intention number two speaks to the soul, right? From a body perspective, it's about what we need, right? The body needs, so we ask for what we need. The soul's intention in prayer, we might say, the soul's intention is not about what it needs, because the soul is selfless, not about itself. The soul's intention is to connect, just to foster the relationship. By the way, let me take a step back to explain that notion of prayer in the form of developing a relationship. How are relationships built? Human relationships. It's based on what we do for each other, but it's also based on how we speak to each other. It's based on our conversations, based on the love that we share and the appreciation that we have for the other. It's acknowledging, you're there for me, I'm there for you. I love you, I care about you. I noticed what you did. Thank you for taking out the garbage, changing the light bulb, picking up the kids, all the things that you do. I don't know, just random things, right? Thank you for all the stuff. So we say to God, thank you for all the stuff. And that helps foster the relationship. Now, again, we might think, notice I'm saying might, because I'm not going to end on this notion, on this way of thinking, but you might think that the body's intention in prayer is about what it needs, and the soul's intention is about the connection, just the relationship, right? Body, soul. It's not true. The body needs a relationship, and the soul needs stuff also. That's the way it works. The body also needs a relationship. What? Bodies only want to take. Bodies also want to give. By the way, I know this class is not about love, but I'm making it now about relationships and love for just a quick second. The definition of love is not what you get, it's what you give. The energy of chesed or ava, kindness or love, the energy is an energy that flows from within to without. It flows that way, outward, not inward. I've said this in countless classes in different contexts, and you may have heard me say this. When somebody says, I love chocolate, that doesn't mean they want to give to chocolate, because I don't even know what that means, to give to chocolate. I love chocolate. I really want to help you. Help you do what? Like, what does that even mean? Right? So I love chocolate means I want to consume you, chocolate. I want to consume you and eliminate your existence. That's what's good for me. That's not loving chocolate. That's loving yourself and eating the chocolate. There's no love for the chocolate there. There's love for, that's self-love. Yeah, so we have to be careful when we use the word love. Love is an energy that flows outward. The body needs to give. The body needs to love. It's a fact of life. Human beings, not just the soul, the body needs to give. We need to be givers. You know what it means to be created in the divine image? We're created in God's image. God's the ultimate giver. God gives life, gives everything. Everything that we have is given by God. We're meant to be in God's image and also be givers, not just takers. That's the way it is. So again, we might think that the body's intention in prayer is just what I need. Here's what I need. Here's what I want to take. No, the body also wants a relationship, also wants love and to give. And the soul also wants to get, right? The soul also needs stuff. Why? The soul knows that it has a purpose on earth. It's not just sent here randomly. It has a purpose on earth. And the soul's purpose is only able to be fulfilled when the person has the resources to be able to fulfill the purpose. Yeah. Part of the purpose is to do a mitzvah. You gotta, somebody needs help, and you need to be there for them. Guess what? You need a car, or you need someone with a car, or you need a telephone. You need physical resources. You need food. You need money. You need a home to invite people over. You need stuff to be able to fulfill your mission. So there are two intentions. One is for what we need. One is to connect with God. They're not mutually exclusive, body, soul, lower, higher. It's not like our lower self is praying to get and our higher self is praying to connect. Lower self is praying to get and connect. Higher self is praying to connect and to get. All right. Now, that's just a point about prayer and the intention of prayer. So you'll see these two themes. There are times in prayer, in the prayers, in the prayer book, in which we're asking for stuff, and times in which it's completely about the connection. And both are true and both are valid, and they both work together, right? We need stuff, we connect, we need in order to do our mission, we need to connect in order to exist. All of these things are true. Now, oh, by the way, one more thing. I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I feel like I mentioned this in a recent class about retirement. Did I talk about retirement in last week's class? No? Okay. I'll tell you this. The Lubavitcher Rebbe was very much against retirement. In 1972, he turned 70, and there was a gathering in his synagogue in Brooklyn in Crown Heights. And he said, you know, people have been asking me to step down, or not to step down, to like take it easy a little bit and whatever. He says, retirement's not a Jewish thing. Because what's retirement? You're stopping productive? What kind of business is that? Human beings need to be givers. We need to be productive. We need to feel accomplished. We need to do things. Now, doesn't mean you have to keep the same job as he kept, you know, for 30, 40, 50 years. You don't have to keep the same job. But we have to stay productive. We have to be doing something, giving, accomplishing, benefiting the world. We have to be productive. So again, that's about life. The body itself needs to be productive. I can't tell you how devastating it is. And I've seen this firsthand. I'm still young, I think, but when I was younger, when I was growing up in Pittsburgh, we used to go visit every Friday, Shiva students. We used to take off from school, not like take off, but we had time off from school. We used to visit, what was it called? An old age home on the way to Homestead. Yeah, what was that called?
Just before the bridge.
Just before the bridge. Yeah, on the left side. What is that called? Is it
There's a rehab center.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right before. Okay, so we used to go there every Friday, and what was the point? We would go there. You know, we would visit the Jewish individuals that were there, and we would light Shabbat candles. Everyone would gather in like the dining room. We would do a little bit of a Shabbat service. We would sing Shabbat songs. We would do Kiddush. We would hand out some food, some treats. You know, sing Hava Nagila Hava. No, we would sing Avenu Shalom Aleichem. Various Jewish songs, and bring good cheer, positive cheer to the folks. Was it Heritage Shadyside? No.
No, Shadyside's not. That's
No. It's not, no, you're right. Yeah, it's okay. Anyway, I remember this, and this is not an indictment of that facility, and it's not an indictment of anybody. It's just something that I saw. I saw people come in, new individuals come in, that were vibrant, that were, you know, they were snappy, they were. And then not too long after, you could see the decline. And I'm not judging anything. I'm just saying that, you know, it's hard to be vibrant if you don't feel like there's something, you know, there's some action going on, or you're being productive. It's so important to be productive and to try to maintain as much productivity as possible, which is why now in many facilities, there are many more activities and opportunities to be vibrant and to be productive. Weinberg Village or Charles Morris Rehab, maybe. It's not ringing the bell though. It's definitely the one before the bridge. Maybe they changed the name. I don't know. Okay, anyway, that's the point. So we have to be givers, we have to be productive. Fine. So along these lines, there's a story of a chassid, of a Hasidic individual who once asked his mentor, Maybe Riverview. Yeah. Maybe Riverview. Yeah. That's the one overlooking the river right there by the bridge. Yeah. Okay. So I said, yeah, that's what I think it is. Now, along these lines, there's a story told of a chassid who asks his master, his teacher. He said, "Tell me, can I translate the prayers into Yiddish?" So he says, "Why do you want to do that? Why not just say them in Hebrew?" I mean, he knew Hebrew. Why not just say it in Hebrew? Why Yiddish? So he said, "Because my animal soul, my body understands Yiddish better than the Hebrew." So the prayers are meant to speak to us. As much as they're meant to speak to God, they're meant to speak with us. Now, I don't know what the answer was, whatever. With regards to you and I, by the way, pray in whatever language you're most comfortable with. If you can do it in Hebrew and understand it, great. If Hebrew is completely, meaningless, then do it in English. Or Yiddish, if that's your thing. Or join our Yiddish course starting in a few weeks, and then you can do it in Yiddish. That's actually happening for those that are interested. Emory University professor of Yiddish is going to be teaching an online course for us coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. Getting back to this point, the message here is prayers are meant to speak to us and meant to be real, not meant to be just something we mumble jumble, but meant to be actually something real and resonant. Okay, so before we get into some more of the meaning and mechanics of the specific prayers, I want to talk about the basics. And here are the basics of Jewish prayer. Every day, there are three primary prayer segments or services. I don't know if I like that word service. It sounds like, something very formal or synagogue-y, but three prayer opportunities. There's the morning prayer, which is known as Shachrit. There's the afternoon prayer, which is known as Mincha. And then there's the evening prayer, which is known as Ma'ariv or Arvit. So three prayers, morning, afternoon, and evening night. Now, on Shabbat and holidays, we add a fourth prayer, which is called the Musaf, or as I like to tell my kids, what's a cow's favorite prayer? Musaf, whatever. That's what I do with my kids. Sorry for bringing you in on that. I have to inculcate them in the corny dad rabbi jokes at a very young age, so that's my deal. Now, when it comes to Yom Kippur, it's the one day a year we actually have 5 prayers. What's the 5th prayer? That's called the Ne'ilah. The Ne'ilah closing prayer is the additional prayer that we have on the day of Yom Kippur. So typically there's 3 prayers on normal weekdays, Sunday through Friday, Shabbat and holidays, including Rosh Hashanah, Passover, Sukkot, Shavuot, all the holidays, and Shabbat, 4 prayers, which is adding the Musaf. Musaf literally means the additional prayer. And on Yom Kippur, one day a year, we have 5 prayers. Okay, it's significant why the number 5, but that's for another Yom Kippur discussion. Where do these 3 prayers come from? According to the Talmud, they originate with the patriarchs. Abraham initiated the morning prayer, not necessarily the same page numbers and words that we have, but the concept of praying in the morning says about Abraham, he woke up in the morning and he prayed. Isaac prayed in the afternoon. He added on an afternoon prayer. Jacob added on a night prayer. And the Talmud cites verses that indicate from the book of Genesis how each of these patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, did one of these prayers, or they added on one added on to the other, and then that was born. That gave birth to the 3 prayers we have. There's also discussion how the prayers correspond to the sacrifices in the temple, and how there were morning sacrifices, afternoon sacrifices, and nightly sacrifices that burnt at night, whatever it was. But the point is, these are the basic origins. What we're going to do today is focus on 7 elements of the prayers. Or not all of them are prayers, by the way, but you'll see what I mean. 7 pieces to the prayer experience. Morning prayer, here we go. Number 1 is tzedakah. What is tzedakah? Tzedakah is giving charity. That's a piece of prayer which we'll explore in a moment. So number 1 is tzedakah. Number 2 is talit, the prayer shawl that men wear. Number 3 is tefillin, which is the straps, the phylacteries that once again men wear for the morning prayer, not on Shabbat, but during the weekday. Number 4 is acknowledging and reciting one's taking on the obligation to fulfill the mitzvah to love your fellow as yourself. Number 5, we'll talk about today, is saying the Shema. Number 6 is mentioning the Exodus. And number 7 is praying the Amidah. Those are the 7 pieces we're going to talk about today. 7 pieces, either prayers or associated with the prayers, that are all very important. Before we jump into those, when do we do this? Like I said before, we do this in the morning, after we get ourselves ready, after we grab a bite to eat. But here's the important piece that I haven't told you yet. There is a mitzvah to say the Shema before 3 hours of the day pass. From sunrise, 3 hours. But here's the catch. A Jewish hour is not necessarily 60 minutes. I know what you're thinking. That explains so many things about Jewish time. No, a Jewish hour is not exactly 60 minutes, and here's why. The Jewish hour is figured out with the following formula, algorithm. You take the daylight hours, divide them by 12, okay? And then you get to a median number of minutes. So let's say, let me give you an example. Let's say sunrise is at 6 a.m. and sunset is at 7. Sorry, 6 and 6. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. How many hours do you have? Oh, you guys are all muted. But I'm sure you can mouth answer, right? 12 hours. 12 hours of daylight. 12 divided by 12 is 1. In other words, 60 minutes. Okay, fine. What happens if sunrise is at 6 a.m. but sunset is at 7 p.m.? So it's 13 hours. Divided by 12 means that every hour is really a little bit more than 60 minutes in Jewish time. Be that as it may, as the summer stretches on, as the days become longer, the time of the hour becomes a little bit longer or shorter. Whatever, however it works, right? The bottom line is, right now, here's how I figured it out. I have an app. It's called Zmanim. It's fantastic. It's a free app on my phone. I'm going to pull it up and show you this app right here. This is what it looks like. It's called Zmanim. Right in the middle and the bottom over there. You see that? It says Zmanim. Can you see that? I hit this app and this is what comes up. Magic sauce. Atlanta, Georgia. It automatically finds your location, right? Sells it to the Russians. I'm kidding. Atlanta, Georgia. And you look, it has all the halachic, all the Jewish times that you need to know. A whole list of times, including 4 entries down. It says Sof Zman Shema, which means the end of the time to say Shema in the morning. And across from that, it says 9:20. So 9:20 a.m. today, 9:20 a.m. was when Shema was supposed to be said by. So it's important to pray early enough in the morning that you're getting your Shema in while the getting's good. Let's put it that way. Get your Shema in while the Shema is ready to roll. Again, it's approximately 3 hours or so based on Jewish hours, but 3 hours into the day. If you pray at like 10 a.m., 11 a.m., whatever, you're going to miss the Shema, and it's a mitzvah. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying the Shema later, but you missed the mitzvah. You should know that the mitzvah of saying the Shema, which we're going to focus on today, it's a biblical mitzvah. It's no different than the mitzvah to hear the shofar in Rosh Hashanah. You know how many people show up to Shul in Rosh Hashanah to hear the shofar? You know how many people on Passover gather to eat the matzah? These are biblical commandments. Well, guess what? Saying Shema in the morning is a biblical commandment. Same level as Rosh Hashanah. It's just more frequent because it's every day, but it's on that same level. It's a biblical commandment to say Shema b'shach b'cha when you wake up in the morning, which is in the first 3 hours of the day. So ideally, we pray the morning prayers within those first 3 hours and say the Shema then. That's the ideal. If not, then say it whenever, but that's the ideal. And we do so when we're already dressed, right? We already spoke about the morning ritual, so we're already dressed appropriately. Men should wear a kippah. Why the kippah? The kippah is an extra reminder that God is above us. So in good Jewish tradition, we say that that's only men need that extra reminder. That's what it says in the good books, that women are naturally a little bit more spiritually attuned. I can say this as a guy. I can take this self-rebuke, and I'm okay with that. But guys get distracted, like, oh, look, a sports car, right? So guys and by sports car I mean everything that comes with that. So the bottom line is, you guys are more distracted, so we need some more reminders. We need to wear the stuff, wear the tefillin, wear the tzitzis, wear the kippah, the uniform, especially when we pray to get a little bit more focused. Women don't need that. We also wash our hands before praying. You don't have to do another ritual hand washing, just run them under water. The idea is to make sure everything's clean and everything is appropriate. It's kind of like a good practice just to wash your hands before prayer. Now, let's get to the first thing. Now we're giving tzedakah. We give charity. Why do we give tzedakah? So first of all, charity is always good. Second of all, I need to clarify. When I say give tzedakah, it's good to have one of those tzedakah boxes. By the way, I'm using the Hebrew term because charity is not a great translation of tzedakah. Charity sounds like something else, but tzedakah means it's the right thing to do. It's the righteous thing to do. Tzedek. It's Adina Malka, thank you. If I'm viewing everybody in the Brady Bunch view, which I love to see everybody's face. So Adina Malka just held up her, what was that, Israel National Fund? Let me see that. Wait, you're muted. Yeah, Jewish National, JNF. There we go. JNF, yeah, JNF Pushka, JNF tzedakah box. It's fantastic. So have a tzedakah box in your home. In fact, the Chabad custom is you nail one to the wall. I'm not joking. Chabad custom is install one in your, like, make it a part of your house. You can make it look nice and have one built in, a wood one, whatever, like make it look nice, but build it in, especially in the kitchen. Why a kitchen? A kitchen is the place of the home which we're very much focused on self. It's the food that we eat, we're preparing food. It's about what I need. What a perfect room to remind ourselves about what others need. Think about it. Nothing against food, but it's not selfish, but it's self-oriented, right? It's a room in which it's about consumption or about making the food that we're going to consume. In that room, in that space, flip the energy or balance the energy of self with the energy of giving. So make sure, listen, it's a beautiful custom. Put a tzedakah box, put a charity box in your home, for sure, at least one in the home, but in the kitchen specifically, and knock it to the wall. Maybe at some point I'll take my laptop, I'll unplug it, and I'll take you a tour. Take a tour of Mike. Whoa, wow. What is that? Is that a tzedakah box? Adina Malka. Oh, wow. Look at you. I don't know what that is, but it looks beautiful. Very fancy schmancy. So maybe at some point at the end of the class, I'll take a tour into my kitchen and show you our tzedakah box that we put into the wall. Okay. Bottom line is charity. Why charity before prayer? Charity is always good, but why before prayer? Think about it. What's the first rationale of prayer? What's the first intention? God, this is what I need. Please hook me up. Or, I really need this. Please help me. Okay? Before we ask for what we need, we should give someone else what they need. It's only right. We can't be hypocritical, right? Somebody needs something. Let's be there for them and then ask God, now be there for us. Not like we're bargaining or negotiating, but it only makes sense if we're asking for what we need, we should help others with what they need. So before we ask, we give. Before we take or we ask to take, we give tzedakah, we give to others. By the way, I meant to mention this before. It's not about how much you give. Maimonides, this is really important. Maimonides says it's bigger to give a little each day than giving a big check. That's what he says. There were no checks then, but it's better to give. I'm saying there weren't checks. It's better to give smaller, consistent sums than large lump sums. Now, I don't mean to dissuade anybody from giving a larger sum. That's far from my intention. I would say do both. Give the bigger. No, but all joking aside, it's really important to give, even if it's a penny or a nickel or a dime or a quarter, even if it's a little bit each day. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, the holy Baal Shem Tov, used to say on Erev Yom Kippur, the eve of Yom Kippur, when we're kind of in that mode of forgiveness, atonement, cleansing, connection, he used to say, you got to give coins, no paper bills, give coins. And you shake it around in the metal tzedakah box, in the metal cans, and that scares away any negative forces that might seek to attach to the moment before Yom Kippur. It's like warding off all the negative spirits. But for us, for you and I, on an everyday basis, give a little bit, even if it's a coin. Coins make noise. That's a good thing. We got to make some noise. I don't know. I remember there was somebody who once created an app, like a charity app where you can like swipe and give a little bit each day, or maybe I know there are. To think about it. If it's happening automatically, it's not exactly the same. My reason why, let me just come full circle. The reason why it's better to give a little each day than just kind of out collecting it and giving it once, that same amount, is because then we become, because the other way we're just giving once. This way we give each and every day. And that habit creates, action creates habit, which changes something about us. So we become more generous, more sensitive, more empathetic, the more we give. Also, it's really great. If you have kids in the house, it's really, really helpful. We talk about education, how to educate our kids. There's nothing like experiential education. You can preach from today to tomorrow, and it's not going to have the same effect as an action that happens in your home every single day. Except for Shabbat, of course, we don't handle money. But every other day, and we give a little extra before Shabbat for Shabbat itself, before we light candles. If you're giving every day and you give your child also to give every day, I mean, talk about, you could preach to your child how they should be sensitive and care about others and be giving and kind and forgiving and generous and empathetic today to tomorrow. But if you do that every day with your child, that's priceless. That really brings it home to the point that a child will stop calling it money. When the child sees those coins, they're going to call it tzedakah. They're not going to call it money. They're going to look at it as a mitzvah, as something to give, as opposed to something to just accumulate and to keep and to like hold on tight to. It's really important. It just teaches generosity and teaches kindness and love. It's really healthy. So many different levels. Tzedakah is really important to give before praying. Now, here's what I want to do, because we're about to jump into the prayer book. Not everyone has a prayer book at home, perhaps, or the same prayer book. We're going to be using the Chabad prayer book, Hebrew and English. But here's what I want to do. I want to share with you the link to get it online. So, to get the file online, you can view the file, you can download it if you want. Let me find it over here, pull up my notes for this lesson. By the way, unmute yourself at any point in time to ask questions, to comment, to jump in. Now's a good time to do that. Anytime is a good time, but now's also a good time. I'm messaging everybody now. Done. I just messaged everybody in the chat. There's a chat in Zoom, if you can pull it up. Me to everyone. The chat says hebrewbooks.org/16091. If you don't have the link, just go to hebrewbooks.org, hebrewbooks.org/16091. Don't worry, it's not some sort of hacky link. It straight up takes you to the prayer book, the Chabad prayer book. You can read online, you can download it as a file, as a PDF, whatever it is, but I'm gonna go through it now. So if you all don't mind, let's do that. Actually, to make it easier for you, you can do that, or let's not either or, but I'm going to share my screen, and my screen is going to have, oh, where is it? Hold on. Here it is. Okay, my screen will have the PDF. I downloaded the PDF. I have it open. I have the prayer book next to me also, but just I want to do it with you. I'm going to start from the beginning.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have the actual Chabad Siddur at home. So is the bound paper edition the same page number as what you're showing us online?
Yes, exactly the same.
Okay, thank you.
If it's the blue Chabad annotated English Siddur, Yes.
Yes.
You got
Okay,
you got
thank
the
you.
same one. That's what we're going to go through. By the way, if you have a different siddur, if you have a different one, it works the same. Don't worry about it. It's the same. It's different page numbers, but it's roughly going to have the same experience. I want to go back all the way toward the beginning. Here we go. We're going to start with the opening line of the morning prayer service. We did the morning blessings. There's an opportunity for men to put on a talit, prayer shawl, and the tefillin, the phylacteries. Okay, after all that, here we go. This first line, now it's Hebrew and English. I'm going to show you the Hebrew first for what it's worth, and then we're going to flip straight to the English. This line where my PDF hand is, Hareini mekabel alai mitzvat aseh shel v'yahavta l'reacha kamocha. In the English, that is translated as, let's make it bigger even. This is, by the way, HebrewBooks.org has scanned in thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of Jewish books with permission from the publishers as a resource. So that's where this is coming from. It's a scan, so it's not, it's not the greatest quality, but it's what we have now to easily to use. Take a look. Oh, I can highlight it even. Fantastic. Mazel tov. Look at that. I hereby take upon myself to fulfill the mitzvah, love your fellow man, fellow as yourself. This is how we start the prayers. Once again, by acknowledging the other. Like I said before regarding tzedakah, it's great to ask for what you want, but it's better to be there for someone else, especially when you're praying to God. But there's other reasons why we talk about this mitzvah. It's such a beautiful thing, such a beautiful declaration before we start praying. It's like, I'm committed today. Today is going to be a day in which I love the other as myself. Even if they get on my nerves, I'm sure I get on other people's nerves. I still want to be loved. I'm going to love someone else like I want to be loved unconditionally. That is how we start the prayers. It's not about God. It's not about me. It's about the other. Why? So I want to share with you a few insights in addition to what I said before about tzedakah. Number one, God's blessing requires a vessel that will contain it. And if you've ever poured any liquid in any vessel, you know that if there's a crack in the vessel, then what happens is the vessel will not contain the liquid. It's just not going to work. Why? Because it's compromised. And a compromised vessel doesn't exactly work. So, why is my chat not working? I'm not able to see the chat right now. My apologies. I know that there's some chats going on or somebody's chatting. I think people are putting into the chats. For some reason, it's not popping up on my screen while I'm screen sharing right now. Seems to be a little bit of a glitch with my screen. So feel free to just unmute yourself and ask it because I'm not able to see it right now. Yes? No?
It's just Mark showing the page, giving us the page.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying. I'm so again, my apologies. I can't see it. So at this point, just unmute yourself and jump in. This is meant to always be a dialogue, even though everyone's background is on mute. But at any point, jump in. Now, getting back to this idea, a vessel, if it wants to hold something, it's got to be whole. It has to be. Can't have any cracks. We can't have any cracks amongst us. We cannot be a fractured community. We have to be standing together. So the first thing we say is, I'm committed to getting along with the other guy. Not just the guy I already like, but the nudnik. You know the difference between the shlemiel, the shlemazel, and the nudnik? The shlemiel is the klutz who spills the soup on the other guy. The shlemazel is the guy whose good luck, whose bad luck it is, he always gets the soup spilled on him. And the nudnik is the one who says, yeah, what kind of soup was it? Right? So you have all these different characters. And it's easy to love your friend. It's easy to like the person you like. But what about the nudnik, the guy that gets in your nerves? That's the point. Love your fellow as yourself, even that guy or that girl, even that or woman, even that person you should be loving, you should be getting along with or working to get along with. And again, why? If we want the blessings, we have to have a container that doesn't have any cracks, and we have to be together. So that's one idea. Second idea is that, what's the second idea that I wrote in my notes? The second point, when it comes to, so let's talk about parents and children once more. Parents and children. So parents love nothing more than when their children get along. Yeah, if you got a few kids in the house and they're fighting, oh, you go, then they start asking for things. You're like, nope, not happening. You guys can't get along and you want stuff now. So God, if we want God, who's our parent, our loving parent, to give us what we want or to bless us with what we want, we got to get along with each other. A parent is more inclined to give when the kids are getting along. So let's get along with each other. That is the opening declaration. It's not enough to think it. We're meant to say it. By the way, this is true of all the prayers. They're not just meditations in the mind. We say it. Why? Because speaking it brings it from the world of theory and intention into the world of action. And it's all about, and these are all actionable items. Okay, so that's number one. That's how we begin the prayers. We gave charity, we gave tzedakah, and now we're declaring, verbally declaring that we are going to be there for someone else today, for the other person. Now, with that under our belts, let's move on to the Shema. We're going to skip a bunch of pages, lots of different prayers. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the prayer book. I encourage you not to. I encourage you to take it slow, to recite the prayers that you've identified, or the ones that I'm identifying, including the Shema, which we're going to get to in a moment. Start small and then build it up as you go along, and learn more and connect with more prayers as it becomes viable and feasible for you. Here we go. I want to begin with the blessings before the Shema, or blessings of the Shema. This is really important. The Shema is one of the most central elements of the prayers. There are different rungs of prayer. Those of you that took, I'm smiling because I'm reminiscing. We had a course this time last year, I believe it was called the With All My Heart. With All My Heart. I know some of you tonight took this course last year. It was about prayer, 6-week course on prayer. And in that course, we spoke about the ladder of prayer and how prayer has different rungs that we can climb. And one of the highest rungs, the highest is the Amidah, but the one right before is the Shema. So let's talk about that rung and what it really means. What is the Shema all about? So the Shema is preceded by a few different blessings, aptly translated as, or called, the blessings of the Shema. There's 2 blessings before the Shema and 1 blessing after the Shema. So we have 2 blessings, the Shema itself, a blessing, and then we go on to the Amidah. That's what's going on. And again, what page are we on? We're on page 39 of the prayer book. Let me actually run straight over to the English side. It's going to be easier for us to read. Blessings of the Shema. First thing we do is we talk about God creating the universe. I mentioned this before in my opening. We talk about God vis-a-vis nature. Take a look. Blessed are you, Lord, our God, King of the universe, who forms light and creates darkness, who makes peace and creates all things. We talk about how God creates the very basic elements of life, including light and darkness, the 2 very basic elements of our day, of our life, of our existence. You know, other faiths, other belief systems have it that there are many gods or many forces out there. And the force of light is different than the force of darkness, right? There's a force of light and goodness, and then a force of darkness and evil. There's God and there's a Satan or whatever. There's some evil force. Judaism, as you probably know, is very strictly monotheistic, which in the Jewish sense means that there's only one source. It's the same God who's creating light, and it's the same God who's creating darkness. There's only one source. Why would God create darkness? That's a great question, and that's a question that we can explore and think about and struggle with and grapple with, but that's not for tonight. For tonight is, I just want to highlight this idea. We declare this right here because the Shema, of course, declares that God is one. It talks about monotheism, the oneness of God. The first thing we say in the blessings before the Shema is, the light and darkness, that contrast, which seems like there's no way they come from the same place. Light is light, darkness is darkness. That seems very different. They both come from God. God is behind both light and darkness. Okay, so that's the opening. That's one element of the opening. I'll also mention this: if God is creating darkness, it means for you and I, even when we're going through the struggles of life, there is some sort of purpose and dignity in the struggle. We believe this. Even if it feels impossible to discover, we believe that there is some sort of purpose or some sort of dignity that can be found even in the greatest of struggles, and that's what we are committed to. Okay, There's a lot to say about that, but not enough time to really delve into it. Let's continue. The next paragraph. Remember, our focus is on the Shema and the Amidah. We're in the preparatory blessings before the Shema. Now, the next paragraph talks again about God and creation. Talks about in mercy, he gives light to the earth and to those who dwell thereon. Imagine if the world didn't have light. Spoiler alert, we wouldn't exist. How God gives light to the earth and how in his goodness, God renews each day, continuously, the work of creation. That's very important also. Judaism believes in the notion of consistent and constant creation where the world, and this is explained in Kabbalah very, very at length, how the universe, how creation itself is constantly being renewed and re-energized by God. It's not just that God started things, put things into motion and then checked out, but no, God is constantly recreating, which means in this moment, everything's new. What happened in the last moment, you are not stuck to. You are not tethered to the past. This is a brand new moment. The entire universe was recreated right now. You have a choice to break completely with the past and to choose something new. This is the idea of refreshing ourselves, refreshing the universe. It's such a refreshing notion. We talk about how God makes everything with wisdom. There's intention. This is not haphazard. There's wisdom behind it. We talk about God is. We reference that God is God alone is elevated, right? God is elevated. God is beyond everything. God created this, but God is beyond everything. Let's continue to the next page. There's a lot to talk about here. We soon get into our discussion about angels. Take a look at page 40. This is page 40 of the prayer book, of this edition at least. And we talk about God is the one who creates holy beings, i.e., God creates ministering angels. And all the ministering angels stand in the heights of the universe and proclaim in awe, aloud in unison, the words of the living God and sovereign of the universe. In other words, we talk about how beautiful this world is and what a blessing it is. And then we talk about heaven, the heavenly realm, and how beautiful the heavens are, and how, I skipped that. We talked about in this, the end of the light-giving luminaries. Okay, the beings in the sky. And then we talk about the spiritual creatures, the angels. And then we talk about how the angels relate to God, how they're totally blown away by God, how they're with fear and awe. They stand before God and they tremble and they proclaim God's holiness with joy and awe and unison. And they say, holy, 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 kadosh, 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 3 times. By the way, kadosh doesn't only mean holy. Kadosh means separate. So they're saying God is up, 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 right? God is so big, so much bigger than even the angels. I mean, who can imagine what an angel is spiritually? Let alone the angels are blown away by who God is, because God is certainly way beyond all of them. And then we read about other angels, the Ophanim angels, the Chayot angels, the Seraphim angels, different names, different angels, different dimensions. These are all in the prayers. It's amazing. These are like mystical concepts, but they're all in the prayer book for anyone to read and look at. I want to show you something very cool. And what that is in the Hebrew. I'm going to go to the Hebrew. If you can see it, you see it. If not, you'll take my word for it. These 3 words, Baruch, Kavod, Hashem, Imkomo. Okay? The first letters of these 4 words, Bet, Kaf, Yud, Mem, spells the Hebrew word. It spells the Hebrew word bochim, which means cry or crying. They are crying. The angels are crying because the angels are blown away by they're in awe of the majesty of God. God is way beyond them. God is, they know, the angels can appreciate how great God is. Sometimes we appreciate how good a good meal is, right? How good a roll of sushi is, how good, an NBA finals game is. What do the angels appreciate? How big God is. That's what they're appreciating. And that's what we talk about as we get ready for the Shema. You know why? to remind us just how amazing and how awesome and awe-filling God is. And then we have the next paragraph. And the next paragraph shifts the language. Lord our God, you have loved us with everlasting love, which means that despite your loftiness, despite your awesome stature, God, you love us and you're giving us what we need. That should move a person to a state of love. Imagine the greatest person that you know, the greatest individual living right now on planet Earth, the person that you have the most respect for, that you're awestruck by. Imagine if that person were to turn their attention to you and personally do a favor or help you out. You would be overjoyed and overawed. You would be over the moon, filled with the love for that person and an adoration that will blow your mind. This is the build-up to the Shema. We talk about how great God is, how beautiful the universe is, how grand the universe is. God creates it all. The angels are in awe of God. And yet, despite God's awesome power and awesome greatness, God loves us and God blesses us with what we need. And God gave us the Torah to guide us and to give us life and all the beautiful things. That takes us straight to the Shema. So those are the two blessings. It takes us straight to the Shema. And in the Shema, of course, we wrap up, or we really capture some of the themes that we just mentioned. So let's now talk about the Shema. First of all, some mechanics with the Shema. The Shema is a composite of verses from the Torah taken from the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and it comes from Deuteronomy chapter 6 and and Numbers, and the book of Numbers chapter 15. So let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning here. The Shema has an opening line, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It has the opening line, which I'm highlighting. Oops. The highlighting is being weird on me. Okay, whatever this opening, I don't know what's going on. This opening line of the Shema is the opening line from Deuteronomy chapter 6. Then we have one other line that we say quietly, which I'll talk about in a moment. We have paragraph number 1. We have, I'm showing you in the Hebrew and then we'll do it in English. We have paragraph number 2 and paragraph number 3. 3 paragraphs, and that is your Shema. The first 2 are from Deuteronomy 6 as well. And the last one, Deuteronomy 6, Deuteronomy 11, and the last one comes from the book of Numbers. So what are these talking about and what's going on? Again, let's stick to the mechanics for a minute. There are exactly 245 words in the Shema. 245 words in the Shema, in Hebrew, including the opening lines. It's a Jewish custom that many have to repeat the last 3 words of the Shema when you pray, to equal the number of 248 words. Why 248? The answer is because the human body is comprised of 248 limbs. And so we want to say one word for each of the limbs so that our whole body is speaking to God. So we want to represent all of our body parts, 248 limbs, 248 words in the Shema. There's 245, but we repeat the last 3 in order to get that in. If you're praying in a congregation, then you don't do this because the cantor, the chazan, the one who's leading the services, is the one repeating the 3 words on behalf of everybody. But if you're praying alone, then make sure to repeat the last 3 words of the Shema when you're saying it so that you get in the 248 words. Okay, that's point number 1. Point number 2. There's a custom to sit while reciting the Shema. Not to stand, but to sit. Why? So when we sit, our whole being becomes lowered, right? And part of that is our head. Our heads, which are usually standing up tall and proud, becomes lowered. The message here is that the ideas that we know in our head, the meditation of the Shema, is meant to come down to earth, filter into our hearts, and impact the way we lead our lives, the way we behave. It's not meant to be a philosophy stuck in our head somewhere in the air. We're meant to bring it down to feeling and to action. So again, 2 points on the mechanics. 245 words repeated last week to get to 248. And second of all, we sit during the Shema. Enough of the mechanics. Oh, more mechanics. When we say the first line, which is the hero Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, or Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, we close our eyes. We close our eyes and we cover our eyes with our right hand if you're righty, left hand if you're lefty. And we do so, number one, to increase our concentration, block out distractions, block out other visuals that might distract us, but also number two, recognizing that the message of the Shema is not something that we can visibly see with the eyes. Talking about God and God's unity and God's oneness, which we'll explore in a moment in more depth, these are things that are truths that lie beneath the surface. So the message here is these are not things that we can see with our eyes. We're closing our eyes because these are deeper truths that we sense and know and believe in that the human eye may not pick up on intuitively or naturally, physically. Okay, with that being said, enough with the mechanics. Let's talk about the opening line of the Shema. The Shema is comprised of, the opening line is comprised of 6 words. Shema Yisrael, hero Israel, Hashem Elokeinu, the Lord is our God, Hashem Echad, the Lord is one. Good, it talks about the oneness of God, and it's a powerful statement. The Shema is typically the first prayer that a child learns as a child, and it's also the last prayer that's recited by a person before they finish their mission on earth. So it's a very, very powerful prayer symbolized by the life cycle itself. So what is this declaration? What are we saying that God is? What does that mean that God is one? I've taught this, I've shared this in countless classes. On the one hand, it means very simply, Judaism believes in monotheism. God is one, there's only one God. We don't believe in multiple forces. We believe that there's only oneness. On a deeper level, or that God is one. On a deeper level, what it means is that we don't believe that the world has a separate life force as other than God. Everything that exists, there's a single thread, a single soul, or a single power running through all forms of life. We don't believe, although there's certainly diversity in the universe and diversity even amongst human beings, but nonetheless, there's a commonality, a powerful commonality in everything. And that commonality is the fact that God is powering everything. God is one means God is one with everything. And that's a very important thing. How do we live that, by the way? How do we live that? I mentioned that Shema, we sit down to take the ideas, bring it to the emotion, and then bring them into action. How do you live that? It's very easy. Do you believe that this person has power over you, or that economy has power over you, or that force is in control? Do you believe that all these things are in control, or do you believe that God's in control? Do you believe that that person is your enemy and that person is against you and that person is different, or do you believe that there's commonality between human beings and between all of creation? Do you seek that oneness in your life? Do you seek that oneness amongst others? Do you seek to tie everything that you do into a single purpose and meaning in life? Or are there things that you do that you don't know why you're doing it and they feel extraneous, they feel extra, or they feel out of place? Living a life of the Shema means that there's oneness, there's a thread flowing through everything. Everything is divine. Everything is purposeful. Everything is meaningful. Everything is united. Everyone is connected. These are only some of the implications of this opening line of the Shema. It's a very deep concept. It's not just saying there's one God as opposed to 10 or 100. It's a very deep concept, this idea of oneness and all of that it entails. That's why we concentrate. Every day we can have a different meditation, a Shema meditation. I need to point out, and that's why I have the Hebrew up here, I need to point out something in the Hebrew which you may have noticed. Maybe you didn't notice, but I'm going to make sure you notice right now. The last letter of the Shema, which is the ayin, which I'm taking my hand and motioning over that letter, and the last letter of the last word of the Shema, which is echad, which is the dalet, those two letters, if you notice, are are larger than the other letters. Look how big that last letter is. It goes beneath the line. It looks very, it's like a little bit oversized. And the Dalet here as well, this last letter, again, my hand is moving up and down that letter. That last letter also goes beneath the line a little bit. It's a little bit larger than the other letters. The reason why it's printed larger, these two letters, is because in the Bible itself, in the Torah scroll itself, when the scribe, when the sofer writes the Torah scroll, these two letters are written in the scrolls, and you can look it up. Go to Deuteronomy 6, verse 4, and you'll find it there, 6:4 Deuteronomy. The ayin, this letter is big, and the dalet is big. Why? Two reasons. Number one, what I said before. I already gave you the answer, but I'm just going to fit it into this beautiful idea. Read them backwards, these two letters, the ayin, dalet. If you read it backwards, it's dalet, ayin, which the word is da. Da, which means no. Like da is knowledge, da means no. Which means don't just hear this, hear, O Israel. Don't just hear like sound in your periphery. Know this to be true. Really integrate this into your very being. Know that there's only oneness, only one force in control. Don't worry about other stuff. The Baal Shem Tov was an orphan. Both of his parents passed away at a young age. When his father passed away, his mother passed away first, his father second. When his father passed away, he told his son, the Baal Shem Tov, he said, Yisrael, do not fear anything in this world. The only thing in control is God. That's what he told his son. That's what the Shema is. It's a meditation of God's in control. And it's really, really, and I think it's extremely powerful. It's a powerful thing to integrate into our lives. It's not just hearing it, it's knowing it. Da means no. Read it the other way, these two letters, the large letters. Again, we're isolating the large letters and pulling them out. One way we read it is da, which means know it. And the other way, it's ayin daled, which spells the word aid. Aid means witness. Don't just hear it. Don't just know it, but live a life that bears witness to this truth. Live a life that bears testimony to the truth of God's oneness. When you see somebody who looks different than you, who speaks different than you, who acts different than you, love them because everything comes from the same God. The same God that gives you life is giving them life. And if you do that, not only are you a mensch and a good person, but you are an aid. You're bearing testimony, witness that God is indeed one, that God is one with everything. That's some meditations with the Shema. Again, I'm giving you a lot of ideas to think about. But you have, you'll say Shema every day, hopefully, and you'll have what to think about. The next line is the Baruch Shem. Should probably do it in English. Let me move over to the English now. We have the opening line here, O Israel, and then we say the following verse in an undertone. Blessed be the name of the glory of his kingdom forever and ever. We say that quietly. Why? That's not coming from, it's not a biblical verse. Our tradition has it that when Jacob's sons told him that they're committed to his way of life, he said, Baruch Hashem, thank God. So that's what we say. Blessed be the name of the glory of his kingdom forever and ever. Thank God. And that's, since it's not a verse from the Torah, we say it a little bit more quietly. The next is the first paragraph of the Shema, and we talk about immediately about love, because what we know should affect how we feel. And if we know everything that we know about God, if we know how big God is, how grand God is, how the angels stand in awe of God, and yet God is right here with us, God loves us, God is one with us, that you can't help but feel a love toward God, a reciprocal love. Such a great God who loves me. Wow, I'm blown away. Wow, I really love God. We're meant to take these ideas from the head and move them into emotion. It's a mitzvah to love God, not just generally, but with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And then we talk about education. It's not enough that you know it and you feel it. You have to then teach them thoroughly to your children. This becomes a defining Jewish character trait, obsession with education. It's not enough what you know. You have to make sure your kids know. Make sure your children, the next generation, also knows. This is a very, very important idea. And then it says, you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk on the road. Torah, God is a discussion at home, on the road, wherever you are. When you lie down, when you rise. And this becomes the mitzvah that I mentioned before, to say the Shema twice a day. We say this actual paragraph, the Shema and the V'ahavta, this paragraph, we say twice a day. When you lie down at night, in the evening prayer or the bedtime Shema, and when you rise. And that's why I said the first 3 hours of the day, because that's when people get up. Typically within the first 3 hours of the day, most people are getting up. So that's when we say the Shema. And then it talks about the mitzvah of wrapping tefillin, bind them as a sign upon your hand, and as a reminder between your eyes. Those are the tefillin. And then it talks about mezuzah, write them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. That is the mitzvah to put up the scrolls on our doorposts. So this one paragraph has so many beautiful mitzvot. It's talking about the mitzvah to love God, about the mitzvah of education, about the mitzvah of tefillin. It's about the mitzvah of Shema itself, the mitzvah of mezuzah. It's got so many different commandments or different Jewish ideas here. It's definitely a popular paragraph. The next paragraph, the second paragraph of the Shema, talks about not only observing these commandments that were specified, but all the commandments. Talks about reward and consequence. And finally, we're going to go through that very quickly. Finally, we have the last paragraph of the Shema, if I can pull it up here. Here we go, which talks about the commandment to wear tzitzit, which are the fringes that we wear on the corner of a four-corner garment, like a prayer shawl, like a talit. And this is the source for that mitzvah. So we have a talit that we're wearing. We say this section from Torah, and as we say the word fringes, fringe, and tzitzit, if you see those little stars over there, I'm sure you can see them. Star, a star, not a Jewish star, by the way, a Texas star or something, a italicized star, crooked star, whatever. Those stars indicate that if you're wearing a talit, you give a kiss. You kiss your the fringes, kiss the tzitzis as you say those words in the prayers. Okay, and like I said before, when you finish the Shema, you repeat the words. The Hebrew words are basically I, the Lord, am your God. I mean, that's the translation. In the Hebrew, it is the words that you repeat are these last three words right here. Ani Hashem Elokeichem. You repeat those words. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, and then you say Emet. We always kind of bridge it to the next paragraph. Okay, those are the words that we repeat to get to the 248 words. Let me check in. I know we have a lot of information. Are we good? Everyone still with me? Yes? Yes-ish? I'm getting some thumbs up and some nods. Okay, excellent. Good, good. I've been trying to shake y'all. You know, I made that hard right turn by the Shema. I thought I lost you. I'm kidding. Good, I'm glad everyone's with me. Now, we're going to fast forward to the Amidah. The Amidah, as I mentioned before, is the highest rung on the prayer ladder. There are many prayers in the prayer book. I need to mention once again, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. It's about connection. It's about connecting. So it's not a race, it's not a game, it's not about page turning. It's about sincerely connecting, speaking openly, feeling, meditating. That's what's going on here. So the Amidah is several pages long, many pages long. It's got 19 blessings in total. And it's okay to say only the first few. It's okay to not say them all if you're not ready for them. Say a few, and then the next day say another few, and then the next day say another few. It's good to take it slow. I want to stop sharing this document. Sorry, the Siddur file in a moment. Oh, before I do that, the Amidah, let me do mechanics. Let me keep this up while I do the mechanics of the Amidah. The Amidah is really the most sublime prayer. It's when we talk, it's when we're face to face with God. We're like face to face with God, and we stand. At this point, we stand up. Amidah means standing. It's a standing prayer. We stand up. We put our feet together, like the angels. Angels don't have feet, but you know they certainly don't have 2 feet. So we stand with our feet together, and we take 3 steps back and 3 steps forward. Very important. You may see this in synagogues, and people do this, and you might wonder what's going on. Why this? The notion is that when the Amidah starts, we're in a different space. So we try to physically, embody this being in a different space. But what if you are still in your space? So to move spaces, you first take 3 steps back, and then you take 3 steps forward. And that kind of symbolizes that you're stepping into a new space for this new prayer. It's unique to the Amidah, but because it's so holy, we take 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, and then we begin. We ask God to open my lips, right? We basically tell God, we don't even know what to say. So help us say. It's a very humbling experience. The other prayers we say loud. This prayer we say softly. We're supposed to still say it, but we say it softly. 19 blessings. The first 3 are blessings of praise. The middle 13 are requests, what we need. And the last 3 are expressions of gratitude. We thank God for the blessings that we have. I'm going to stop sharing right now this document. And I want to quickly, we're not going to go through this. I sent you all the PDF of this document. I'm going to pull it up now. Where is it? Here we go. This is the document that I sent you. Again, if you didn't get it, let me know. I'll make sure that you got it. But this is it. Judaism at Home. Hero Israel. This is lesson 3. We talked about all the stuff, hopefully most of it, at least. A lot of material in this class. But here we go. This page of your handout, page 8, gives you an overview of each of the 19 blessings along with the page number that the blessings are found on. This is an invaluable resource that you can use when you say the Amidah. This is the daily, by the way, the daily Amidah. Shabbat has a different form of Amidah. Shabbat Amidah, we don't have the 13 middle blessings of requests, because on Shabbat we don't ask, and Shabbat we talk about Shabbat. And the holiday is the same thing. This is the weekday Amidah breakdown. So I just want to clarify that. This is a breakdown, step by step, of the weekday Amidah. 19 blessings, and each one is specified. What it's called, what page it's on, the summary of the blessing, i.e. what it's about, notes on the order, the sequence of the blessings. Why does this one come before that one? So this is about the sequential order of the blessings and important customs. Here's what you need to know when you're saying this. Sometimes you bend down. Sometimes you give a clap on your chest when you ask for forgiveness and you would confess your sins. Each, there's something, each blessing is unique. So the first one is about, it's called the Avos. No reason to do the Hebrew. The first one is about God's power and awesomeness. The second one is about the rainfall that God gives and how God helps the downtrodden, heals the ill, and revives the dead. The next one is about praising God's transcendence. The next one is a request. So those are the 3 opening ones that are praising God. Now we jump into the 13 ones of request. These are the asks. We ask God for wisdom. We ask God to accept our repentance. We ask God to forgive our sins. We ask God to save us from challenge and stress. We ask God to heal us for health, for good health, and to heal those that are sick. And by the way, I want to mention this custom, to have in mind the names of individuals who require healing. As you say that blessing, asking God for healing, have in mind the names of the people that need healing that you know about. That's the meditation. Okay, the next one is, let's continue. The next one is asking God for money, for sustenance, for all our physical needs. Then we ask God to gather in the diaspora, the exiled of our people. We ask God to restore the Jewish court and the way things were back in the day. We ask God to put an end to those who cause infighting amongst the Jewish people, sectarians who, this is going back to the time, let me just give you a historical context. This was about, there were Jews, unfortunately, who back in the times when the Romans were ruling the land of Israel, would turn in their fellow Jews to be executed. They would tell the Roman authorities that these Jews were still studying Torah or teaching Torah, and the Romans would execute them. And so there's a blessing in the Amidah that says that may no one's plots against us, even if they come from within our own tribe, may they not come to fruition, any plans to harm us. Okay, the next one talks about we ask God to give us reward for the goodness that we do. We ask God to rebuild Jerusalem. We ask God to bring Mashiach, a better world for all of us. We ask God to listen and accept our prayers. We ask God to accept us and our prayers, again, a different form of that. And then we have the final three blessings, which are, actually, no, I'm sorry, that was also a gratitude. Okay, that's less of an ask and a little, somewhat also gratitude. And then we have the gratitude blessings, gratitude for the miracles, and gratitude or an ask for peace, but really about the gratitude for the peace that we have. Okay, and that concludes the Amidah. Again, you have the chart, you have the handout, pages 8 through 11 on this document that I sent you has it blow by blow. You can use it while you say the Amidah. You can, think about it before you say the Amidah, and then try to meditate on a few of the blessings. It's okay to do one each day. And in a span of 19 days, you'll have done the whole thing. And then you do 2 a day, and you build up how many you can do each day. It's not a race. There's no, it's not a competition. It's not a race. It's all about connecting. And hopefully you have some more tools today of connective understanding, the context, the concept, the form, the format, the mechanics, and hopefully the meaning of the prayers. I need to mention one more thing that is very, that's not well known at all. There's a custom take a look at this. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can read it. Take a look at this paragraph right here. This is the handout that I sent you. In the second to last line of the Amidah, after the word Kedusha Secha, okay, at a certain point, we insert a biblical verse that begins and ends with the same Hebrew letters with which our Jewish names begin and end. My Hebrew name is Yehuda Aryeh. I don't know if you know that. My full name is Yehuda Aryeh. So I'm known by my middle name, Aryeh, and by the shorter version of that, Ari. Yehuda Aryeh Ari. I say 2 verses at the end of my Amidah. Every day, Shabbat and festivals, 2 Hebrew verses. Yeducha Hashem kol maasecha v'chasidecha yiranenu. And Ashrei Yoshe Veisecha Od Yahalalucha Sela, because those 2 verses begin with the first letter of my first name and end with the last letter of my first name, and begin with the first letter of my middle name and end with the last letter of my middle name. In other words, let me make it very simple. If you have, hold on, I want to see if it's in here. In some prayer books, it has the verses for the names. Ta-da! You know what? Let me stop share. Be easier to see it like this. Can you see that? Verses for people's names. So you get your Hebrew name, and then
What page is that?
well, in the big version of the Siddur, it's page 582.
Okay, thank you.
So in your PDF, if you have the prayer book 582, if you have the PDF that I linked before, it should also be page 5. Yes. Yeah, good. Steve has it as well. Yeah, Steve has it. Linda has it. Excellent. Okay, good. So these are verses. Find the first letter of your Hebrew name, the last letter, and find the verse that is associated with it. Why do we do this? What's the point? At the end of this Amidah, we personalize it with our signature verse. Why do we do this? I'm going to give you 2 reasons that are really beautiful. 2 reasons. Number 1, saying these verses, it says, scrubs the soul, your soul, from anything that might have stuck to it. Any negative, dust or grime that got stuck to it over time, saying your verse, your personal verse, scrubs it. Number 1, polishes it up. Number 2, this is a bit of a mystical reason, but I think it's very magical. It says that when we come up to heaven, after 120 years, they're going to ask us our name. Say, what's your name? And we're going to be so out of sorts, so in a different reality that we might forget our name. So they're going to ask, okay, forget your name. What was your verse? And then we'll recite our verse, and then we'll remember our name. So remember your verse, identify your verse, remember your verse, find your verse. By the way, if you don't know, if you want to know your verse, but you're not sure that you can find it on your own, please text me, call me, email me, send me a message, WhatsApp, however you want to do it. By the way, if anybody wants to ever know, just look at my email signature. It has my cell phone number. In case you're wondering if there's like some sort of magical way to know my cell phone number. Yeah, it's in the bottom of every email that I sent from me is my cell phone number. So text me, WhatsApp me, email me, well, no, better not Facebook message. I don't always look at that. But message me if you want to know your verse. I'll come up with it. I'll give you your verse and you'll be all set. So I wanted to make sure to mention that. We do it at the end of the Amidah, like 2 lines before we end. We throw it in there right before we finish off and take 3 steps back, which I'll mention in a second. It's really cool. It's like a signature spin on your Amidah. No one else has that unless they have your exact name, but it's like your personal imprint on it. And it's very neat.
Could you say it once
finish
more?
The Amidah? Sorry?
Rabbi, could you say once more? It's the first letter of your Hebrew name and
you take the first letter and the last letter of your name, right? Ray, what's your Hebrew name? Rachel?
Raphael.
Okay, so it's Reish and Lamed, first letter and last letter, right? Rachel. So Ra and L. So Reish and Lamed. You find the verse. You don't have to do the work. It's already been found. You find the verse that also starts with a Reish and ends with a Lamed, just like your name. By the way, your verse is ba-da-ba-dam, ba-dam. I feel like this is like reading your card. It's not. This is not that. This is just your verse. Reish Lamed is. Oh, it's a long one. There's other options. If you look in Art Scroll, you'll find other options also that may be shorter. This one is a long one. Ru'u ata ki ani hu ve'ena lokim imadi ani amis v'achaya machatzti v'ani arpe ve'emi yadi matzo.
Same as AJ's.
Huh?
Okay, it is long.
The long one. It's basically means, see that I am God. I am the one that gives life. I am the one that takes life, and no one can stop me from doing what I want. It's a little bit of God, exerting his dominion over reality. But that's a verse that begins with a Reish and ends with a Lamed, just like your name. Now, I saw a chat from David. Didn't know about using more than just first name. Yes, many have the custom to do both first and middle names. Not the last name, but the first. If you have 2 names, then you go by those 2 names.
You have the same one as AJ.
So basically, like this. Find the verse. If you're having a problem finding the verse, or you don't know where to look, no worries. Just again, contact me. Happy to help with this. It's cool to have. It's cool to have this under your belt. You got your verse. We end the Amidah the same way we started. We take 3 steps back, and we depart from that one-on-one, face-to-face dialogue with God, and then we take 3 steps forward, and the Amidah is concluded. So you may notice. Adina Malka, I just saw your chat. As soon as I close this class, I'm going to lose your chat. Email me if you don't mind. Email or text me, and I will send you I'll type up a transliteration for you. I'll hook you up, no problem. But just text me or email me outside of this chat box. Now, we take 3 steps back. I just want to mention this one point. We start with the left foot. So we go with our left foot. Well, I don't know why I'm standing up. You can't see. I'm not pointing it down on my feet. Anyway, you take 3 steps back, start with your left foot, which indicates that you're not happy about leaving the Amidah. You reluctantly, remember, right is the more dominant, left is for most people. So you kind of reluctantly leave left, right, left. Oseh shalom b'romav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'yim romain. Left, right, center with our bodies, and then we take 3 steps forward, and the Amidah is concluded. All right, that concludes today's session. There was a ton of information. Listen, this is Judaism at Home, and this is all about sharing with you ideas and inspirations and Jewish customs and rituals and things that we can do at home to make our home bound. That sounds negative. To our home centered experience of Judaism that much more meaningful. These are things that you can do every day, up to your level of time and level of what you can commit to it on a daily level. But you have now hopefully a lot of information. You're armed and well on your way to having more meaningful prayer experiences. I want to end like this. Prayer certainly takes practice. It's not something that's intuitive or immediately, oh yeah, sure, I got this thing. It takes practice. It takes repetition to do it, like anything, like any skill, or I don't know if it's a skill, like anything, the more you do it, the more comfortable we get. Hasidim of old used to mark their prayer books. They used to make a fold in the prayer book. And what was the fold about? The prayer that they focused on today, to know tomorrow to focus on the next one. The next day, they made another fold, and the next day, another fold. Like I said before, take one each day, and then do the next one the next day. And when you go through a bunch of them, then you go back, and then you do 2 at a time, and then 3 at a time, and then 4 at a time. And before you know it, that's the only way it is. Prayer is not easy, but it's certainly meaningful, both for body and for soul. And I value the time that we've spent here together tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a prayerful week. May all your prayers be answered for the good. Sometimes, I saw a meme. Somebody says a woman prays to God in the morning. She says, God, give me patience. And the next clip is her sitting in a massive traffic jam. God, I didn't expect to be blessed with the opportunity right away. So may all of our prayers be answered for the good and for the positive that is immediately visible. For those that need a healing or refuah shlema, may they be given a healing. For all of us that need clarity in our lives, we should have the clarity. For all of us that need additional strength in any area, we should have the strength. If we need to be, if we need to turn over a new leaf and to change direction, we should have the energy and the ability to do that. I'm just sharing with you a few of the Amida blessings, the most beautiful blessings, the requests that we have in the Amida. Our requests should be answered. We should be blessed, and we should be healthy and wealthy and wise. Thank you for joining me tonight. And please unmute yourself and ask or share or just say hi and farewell. Either way is good.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Pleasure.
Thank
Thanks for being here.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. I should mention